The package had no return address. I'd been processing Christmas returns for 3 weeks straight. The usual flood of unwanted sweaters, wrong-size electronics, duplicate kitchen gadgets. My hands moved on autopilot. Scan, check reason code, sort into bins. The scanner beeped. I glanced at the screen. The sender's name made my blood go cold. Sarah Mitchell, 847 Pine Street. My former neighbor. The one who'd brought me homemade cookies every Christmas, who'd taught me how to make her grandmother's gingerbread recipe. The one I'd watched waste away from cancer until there was nothing left but papery skin and hollow eyes. The one who died in October. I stared at the screen until the words blurred. This had to be a mistake. Someone with the same name. A glitch in the system. Anything but what my gut was telling me. My manager always said curiosity would get me in trouble someday. She was right. I opened the package. Sarah's wedding ring sat on top. The gold band she'd worn for 37 years, catching the fluorescent light. I picked it up and my breath caught. It was warm. Impossible. It had been in a box in transit for who knows how long, but it felt like someone had just taken it off, like Sarah's finger was still inside it. Underneath, wrapped in tissue paper, family photos with corners worn soft from handling. Her reading glasses with the bent left arm she'd never fixed. The small silver cross that had hung by her bedside since her diagnosis. And a note printed on our standard return form in that sterile computer font. Reason for return. Recipient no longer needs earthly possessions. The break room smelled like burnt coffee and pine air freshener. That artificial Christmas scent they pumped through the vents to make the mall feel festive. I'll Be Home for Christmas played from the overhead speakers, tinny and distant. I sat at the plastic table, Sarah's ring still warm in my palm, and tried to make my brain work. This couldn't be real. Sarah was dead. I'd gone to her funeral. I'd watched them lower her casket into the ground while her daughter sobbed, and the priest said something about eternal rest. But here was her ring. Her actual ring. I recognized the tiny scratch on the inside band where she'd caught it on a fence when we were planting roses together. And it was warm. Body warm. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I should have called security. Should have filed an incident report. Let someone else handle this. But I was still sitting there staring at the ring when my phone buzzed. Text from Tom, my manager. Another one just came in. Same situation. Front desk is holding it. My stomach dropped. I found the second package at the front desk. Ordinary brown cardboard that could have contained anything. The shipping label made my vision blur at the edges. James Chen, my uncle, dead since November. Hit by a drunk driver 3 days after Thanksgiving. Closed casket funeral because of the damage. My aunt had held my hand during the service and whispered that at least he hadn't suffered, that it had been instant. My fingers felt numb as I opened it. His watch, that old Timex from the 80s with the cracked crystal, the one he'd refused to replace even after I'd offered to buy him a new one for his birthday. I could hear it ticking in the silence of the front desk. Tick, tick, tick. But when I looked at the face, the hands were moving backwards, counting down. The second hand jerking counterclockwise like time itself was reversing. His wallet fell open, leather worn thin at the corners. The photo of my aunt slipped out, and I froze. In the picture, her face was blurred. Smudged, like someone had rubbed it with a wet thumb. But I'd seen this photo at the funeral. Her face had been clear then. I'd commented on what a beautiful picture it was. His wedding band rolled across the counter, still spinning. The note, reason for return, time expired. The overhead lights flickered, not just once, 3 times, 4 times, like something was passing through the electrical system. The Christmas decorations dimmed with each flicker, and in those moments of near darkness, I saw something. Movement in my peripheral vision. Shadows that shouldn't exist in fluorescent lighting. My mind was racing now, tripping over itself. Sarah died in October. I gave her that music box last Christmas almost 2 years ago. Did I kill her? No, that was insane. She had cancer. Terminal. The doctors had given her 6 months and she'd made it almost 2 years. But what if the music box had done something? Trapped her somehow? Kept her from moving on? Uncle James, the pocket knife I'd given him. Vintage, engraved with his initials, bought from that antique shop downtown. Morrison's Collectibles, where I always found the most perfect, meaningful things. Things with character, Mr. Morrison always said. Things with history. I pulled up our return system on my phone, fingers clumsy with adrenaline. Searched for all returns processed in the last 3 weeks with deceased recipients. The number that came up made me stop breathing. 47 packages. 47 people. All dead within the last 6 months. Something was very, very wrong. My legs gave out. I sat down hard on the floor behind the front desk, the phone still in my hand, and couldn't breathe. The air felt too thick, too heavy. 47 people, 47 deaths. All because I wanted to give meaningful gifts. I scrolled through the names with shaking hands. Aunt Linda, heart attack in July. Marcus, my cousin, drowned in September. Beth from accounting, house fire in August. Jennifer, my old roommate, car accident. David, my high school teacher, stroke. Every single one of them had received a gift from me in the last 2 years. A vintage compass for Marcus, who loved hiking. An antique mirror for Beth, who was always so carefully put together. An old jewelry box for Aunt Linda, who collected costume jewelry. All purchased from Morrison's Collectibles. How had I not seen the pattern? 47 people. All dead. All within 6 months of receiving my gifts. All returning their most precious possessions through a store return system like they were sending back a defective toaster. The temperature in the room dropped. Not gradually. Instantly, like someone had opened a freezer door directly into my spine. My breath came out in clouds. The fluorescent lights buzzed with a sound like insects trapped in glass, and underneath that buzzing, I heard something else. Breathing. Rhythmic. Multiple people breathing in perfect unison. I ran. The drive to Morrison's Collectibles took 15 minutes that felt like hours. My hands shook so badly on the wheel I nearly rear-ended someone at a red light. Christmas lights blurred past my windows. Red, green, white, all blending together into a smear of color that looked like blood and tinsel. The radio played carols, but they sounded wrong now. Silent Night dragged and distorted, the melody twisting into something that sounded like a funeral dirge. I kept checking the rearview mirror, expecting to see 47 faces in the back seat, expecting Sarah with her hollow eyes, Uncle James with his backwards watch, all of them watching me, waiting. I needed answers. I needed to know if I could fix this. The shop sat on a corner downtown, wedged between a coffee place and a used bookstore. I'd been going there for 3 years, ever since I'd discovered it while looking for a birthday present for my sister. Mr. Morrison was always so helpful, always seemed to know exactly what would make the perfect gift. He had an instinct for it, he'd said, an eye for matching objects to people. The shop was dark. A closed sign hung in the window, but when I tried the door, it swung open. The smell hit me first. Not the familiar, musty scent of old things and furniture polish. Something else, something that made my throat close up and my eyes water. Sweet and rotten at the same time, like flowers left too long in a vase, like fruit gone to mush, like death pretending to be something beautiful. Every instinct screamed to run, to get back in my car and drive away and never think about this place again. But I needed to know, needed to understand what I'd done. The interior was wrong. Every shelf was empty, every display case bare. Dust patterns showed where objects had sat for years, but nothing remained. The walls looked darker than I remembered, stained with something that might have been water damage, or might have been something else. The floorboards were sticky under my feet. Not wet. Sticky, like dried syrup or old blood. Each step made a soft peeling sound that turned my stomach. The sound echoed in the emptiness, and I realized the stickiness was everywhere. On the walls, on the ceiling, like something had exploded in here and left residue of itself on every surface. Something moved upstairs. Footsteps, but wrong. Too many of them, moving in unison. Like 47 people walking in perfect sync, their steps overlapping into one heavy, dragging sound. The footsteps stopped. In the silence, I heard breathing. 47 people breathing in and out together, like a single massive lung filling and emptying. The sound was wet, organic, wrong. Then they started coming toward the stairs. I backed toward the door, my hand fumbling for the handle, but my eyes caught on something sitting on the front counter. The only object left in the entire shop. A small gift box wrapped in red paper with a silver bow. A tag attached in Morrison's neat handwriting. To Maria Garcia. From Morrison's Collectibles. Reason: time to complete the collection. My hands moved without my permission, untied the bow with fingers that didn't feel like mine, lifted the lid. Inside was a mirror. Small, antique, with an ornate silver frame covered in tiny engravings that seemed to move when I wasn't looking directly at them. I touched the frame. Ice cold, so cold it burned my fingers. But the glass itself was warm, body warm, like it was alive. I looked into it. My reflection stared back, but wrong. The eyes were too dark, the sockets too deep. My skin looked gray in the silvered glass, and my smile was too wide, stretched across my face like someone had carved it there. Behind me, visible only in the mirror's surface, stood rows and rows of people. 47 people. I was about to discover just how deep this nightmare really went. Sarah Mitchell held her wedding ring up to the light, turning it slowly like she was admiring it. Uncle James checked his watch, tapping the cracked crystal with one finger. The hands still moving backwards. Rachel Morrison, my best friend from high school, dead 2 weeks ago in that car accident, touched the locket I'd given her, the one that had belonged to her grandmother. They were all watching me, waiting. The mirror's surface rippled like water disturbed by a stone. My reflection, that wrong reflection with the carved smile, reached toward me from inside the glass. Fingers pressing against the surface from the other side, pushing, stretching the silver like it was made of rubber. I looked closer at the frame's engravings and saw what they actually were. Not flowers and vines, but faces. Tiny faces pressed into the metal, mouths open in silent screams. Hundreds of them. Thousands. All the people Morrison had collected over the years. I dropped it. The mirror hit the floor, but didn't break. Instead, it melted into the wooden boards like water soaking into cloth. Where it touched, frost spread outward in geometric patterns. Perfect angles and crystalline formations that shouldn't exist in nature. The temperature plummeted. Ice formed on the walls, creeping up toward the ceiling. My breath came out in clouds so thick I could barely see through them. The footsteps on the stairs were faster now, coming down, getting closer. Behind me, I heard the door lock itself, heard 47 voices whisper my name in unison. Some hoarse, some clear, some that I recognized, and some that I didn't. A chorus of the dead welcoming me home. I threw myself at the door, and it gave way like it was never locked at all. I stumbled into the street, gasping, my breath coming in ragged clouds. When I looked back, the shop was dark, empty. The windows showed nothing but blackness inside, but I could still hear them. 47 voices, singing. "We wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas." The melody twisted and distorted, each voice slightly out of sync with the others, creating a sound that made my teeth ache. I spent the next 3 hours calling everyone. 83 gifts. That's how many I'd given from Morrison's collectibles over the last 3 years. 47 already dead. 36 remaining. My voice was hoarse by call 20, barely working by call 30. The same words tumbling out in a panic. Destroy the gift I gave you, burn it, smash it, throw it in the river. Just do it now. Please, I'll explain later. Just trust me. Some people hung up on me. Some laughed nervously and promised they would. Some asked questions I couldn't answer because I didn't understand it myself. 31 people answered their phones. 5 didn't. 5 numbers that went straight to voicemail, or rang endlessly into silence, or had been disconnected. I checked the obituaries with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. Marcus's widow, heart attack in her sleep 2 nights ago. Beth's husband, carbon monoxide poisoning yesterday morning. 3 more I hadn't found yet. 3 more people who'd died while I was making my calls, while I was trying to save them. The guilt was crushing. Physical. Like someone had wrapped their hands around my chest and was squeezing until my ribs creaked. I'd wanted to give meaningful gifts, thoughtful presents that showed how much I cared. Instead, I'd marked everyone I loved for collection by something that wore Mr. Morrison's face and smiled with too many teeth. The voicemail came at 11:47 p.m. Tom's voice, but flattened. Empty of inflection, like someone had taken everything human out of it and left only the words. Special delivery, midnight, employee entrance, come alone. Then, barely a whisper underneath, 47 voices breathing in unison. I looked at the mirror in my apartment. Just my bathroom mirror, nothing special. And for a moment I saw them, all 47, standing behind me, watching, waiting. I thought about never seeing another sunrise, never tasting coffee or hearing rain on a roof or feeling grass under my feet, never falling in love or growing old or doing any of the 1,000 small things that make up a life. Then I thought about Sarah's daughter at the funeral, holding that crumpled tissue and trying to be strong. About my aunt clutching my hand during Uncle James's service. About Rachel's mom who'd called me sobbing because I was the last person Rachel texted before the accident.
About 29 people who'd trusted me enough to destroy their precious gifts, even though they thought I was crazy. The choice wasn't really a choice at all. I grabbed my keys and my phone, pulled up the video recording app and hit record, then sent the live stream link to 3 people with a message. If I don't text you by 1 a.m., send this to everyone you know. I slipped the phone into my jacket pocket, lens pointing out. If Morrison wanted me, it would have to deal with witnesses. I drove to Riverside Mall with my heart hammering against my ribs and Christmas music playing on the radio. Carols that sounded like warnings now, like someone trying to tell me to turn back. The parking lot was empty. The mall dark except for the emergency exit signs and the Christmas lights strung along the roof. Red and green, blinking slowly like a heartbeat. The employee entrance stood open. Inside, the mall was wrong. Too cold. Too quiet. The Christmas decorations hung motionless even though I could feel air moving. The fake snow looked gray in the emergency lighting. The mechanical reindeer were frozen mid-prance, their eyes reflecting light in a way that made them look alive and watching. My footsteps echoed as I walked toward the return desk. Each breath came out in clouds. The air tasted metallic, like copper and ozone before a storm. They were waiting for me. 47 people stood in the customer service area, arranged in rows like they were posing for a photograph. Sarah in front with her ring catching what little light there was. Uncle James checking his watch, still moving backwards. Rachel, Marcus, Beth, all of them holding the gifts I'd given them. All of them watching me with eyes that were too dark, too hollow. All of them smiling. Behind the return desk stood a figure in a suit. Mr. Morrison, or something wearing his shape. His face was wrong in the dim light, the features sliding and rearranging themselves like they couldn't quite remember what human was supposed to look like. He gestured at the return desk computer. I could see the screen from where I stood, a list of 36 names. The people I'd called, the people I'd warned. 29 had check marks beside their names. 7 were highlighted in red. 7 more dead. 7 who hadn't destroyed the gifts in time, or hadn't believed me, or had waited too long. Morrison pulled out a package. Brown cardboard tied with string. My name on the label in that familiar handwriting. The same as always. Accept the return. Complete the transaction. I looked at the 47 people standing behind him. Sarah's lips moved. No sound came out, but I could read the shape of the words. Don't. Do. It. She was shaking her head, tears leaving tracks on her gray face. Behind her, Uncle James reached out like he wanted to stop me. They all did. My heart was hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. The 47 shifted, leaning forward slightly, listening, hoping. I took the package. It was heavier than it should be, and cold enough that my fingers stuck to the cardboard. Inside was the mirror. The same one from the shop, with its silver frame and those tiny screaming faces pressed into the metal. Morrison gestured for me to look into it. I thought about the 29 people who might still be alive, about stopping this cycle before it could continue, about accepting responsibility for what I'd done. I pulled out my phone, made sure the camera was recording, made sure the live stream was still active. Then I spoke directly to Morrison, my voice steady even though my hands shook. I told him I knew what he wanted, that I'd accept the return, trade myself for the 36 remaining connections. But I had conditions. The 36 would go completely free, no loopholes,
no collecting them later, and I wouldn't become a tool for creating new connections. I'd join the collection, but only as collection, not as collector. I told him I'd been recording everything, that the video would go public if I didn't walk out in 5 minutes, that maybe nobody would believe it, but some people would stop accepting gifts from shops they couldn't verify, that he'd lose thousands of potential connections. Morrison's face twisted. Surprise, maybe, or rage, or respect. I told him to swear it, to swear on whatever power let him do this, on the threshold, on the space between wanting and having, between living and dying. For a long moment, nothing moved. The 47 people held their breath. The Christmas lights blinked their slow heartbeat rhythm. Then Morrison nodded. I looked one last time at the mirror in my hands, at the tiny screaming faces in the silver, at my reflection with its 2 dark eyes and too wide smile. I looked at Sarah, who was crying now, silent tears that left tracks on her gray face. I looked at the camera in my pocket, still recording. This was it. The moment where I stopped being Maria Garcia, customer service representative, gift giver, friend. The moment I became something else. A warning. A cautionary tale. A ghost in the mirror trying to save people from their own kindness. I could live with that. Or rather, I could exist with that. Then I accepted the return. The pain was instant and absolute, like being turned inside out, like every atom of my body was being separated and rearranged. I heard myself screaming, heard 47 voices join in, heard something that might have been laughter, or might have been the sound of the universe tearing. The mirror's surface wrapped around me like liquid silver, cold and burning at the same time. I felt my body stretching, compressing, being pulled through a space too small to exist. The last thing I saw was the mall's Christmas lights, red and green, blinking their slow heartbeat. Before everything went dark, the mirror pulled me inside. Time doesn't work the same in the space between. I don't know how long I was falling through that silvered darkness, surrounded by the faces of the collected, feeling Morrison's presence like a weight pressing down on all of us. But I felt it the moment the connections broke. 36 threads snapping all at once. 36 people suddenly free of the weight they didn't know they'd been carrying. 29 who destroyed the gifts. 7 who died before they could. But even those 7 were released when I took their place. I felt Morrison's rage, felt it try to renege on the deal, try to keep those connections anyway. But oaths sworn on the threshold can't be broken, not even by things like Morrison. The rules are older than he is, older than his collection, older than the space between where we all exist now. The threads released. The 36 went free. And I stayed. I'm still here, in the space between, in the mirror that doesn't exist in a shop that was never real. I can see out sometimes when someone looks into a reflective surface with the right kind of desperation in their eyes. Sarah stands beside me. Uncle James checks his watch, forever stuck at 11:47, the hands moving backwards through time that doesn't pass. Rachel touches her locket. Marcus stares at his compass that always points to nowhere. We're the collection now. The harvest. 48 souls bound to objects that don't exist, trapped in a space that isn't space, but the 36 are free. I check on them sometimes when mirrors catch their reflections. They're living, really living. Some of them remember to be careful about gifts. Some of them have forgotten already, moved on with their lives like normal people should. That's okay. As long as they're alive,
As long as they have the chance to make their own connections and their own mistakes, it was worth it. Morrison is still out there, still collecting, still finding new ways to forge connections between the unwary and objects with history. But it's slower now, more careful. I cost it 36 souls and 3 years of work. It won't make that mistake again. As for me, I watch. I wait. I exist in the reflections of desperate people, and sometimes, just sometimes, when someone looks into a mirror while holding a gift that feels too perfect, too exactly right, I can make my reflection move just enough. Just enough to warn them. Just enough to show them the wrong smile, the too dark eyes, the slight wrongness that makes them think twice. It's not much, but it's something. And in here, in the space between, something is everything. 29 people destroyed the gifts after Maria's disappearance. 7 died before they could, but were released when she took their place. The 29 remain alive. Some report strange dreams about a woman in mirrors. Some say they see movement in their reflections that shouldn't be there. Some have started warning others about accepting gifts from places they can't verify. Morrison's Collectibles has never appeared in any city records, business licenses, or property databases. The location Maria Garcia identified as its address has been an empty lot since 1982. Maria Garcia was reported missing on December 25th. Her car was found in the Riverside Mall parking lot, doors locked, engine cold. Security footage shows her entering the building at 12:03 a.m. The footage cuts to static at 12:47 a.m. When it resumes at 1:15 a.m., she is gone. The live stream she sent to 3 friends was recovered. It shows everything. The 47 people, the entity wearing Morrison's face, Maria's conditions, the oath on the threshold. The video went viral briefly before being taken down by multiple platforms. Copies still circulate on obscure forums. Some people believe it. Most don't. But gift shops in the area have reported a significant drop in sales. People are more careful now about accepting presents from places they don't recognize. Some have started researching the history of antique shops before shopping there. Maria Garcia has not been seen since. But if you receive a gift that feels too perfect, too exactly what you wanted, check the mirror afterward. See if your reflection moves quite right. See if your eyes look the way they should. Because she's still there, still watching, still warning, still trying to save whoever she can. One reflection at a time.